It's hot and it's August, so it's gonna rain.
It's gonna rain. I don't know. It's just one of those things where like I really don't know how to like be aggressive without being like understand that there's like some requirements in place, but also like, are we really working on this like every day?
Yeah. We luckily didn't have anything. Like our house was built in 1944. Actually, the door to the basement was just from the outside rotted away.
Yeah.
We did fix that.
But this is like a historically zoned neighborhood.
And I live in unincorporated county with our house has open zoning. So like if we wanted to build an apartment in the backyard, we could.
Yeah.
They do not care in North Carolina. They're like, you can do whatever you want. It's fine. Yeah, the only thing we have rules on is like you have to wear a motorcycle helmet. No. But of all the other things.
My mom's side of the family is originally where like Chris is at, kind of like that area-ish.
Okay. I recorded with him earlier today, and him and his wife are coming here in a couple weeks to look at houses, possibly move out this way.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, my parents are getting ready to move back to like the east side of North Carolina. And my fear is more of like the hurricane, tropical storm.
Yeah.
And so I could see moving west a little bit.
The tornado warning we got last week, nothing. It rained for like 45 minutes. It's like,
yeah, we were going to watch, but that's not unusual.
I'm new to that. We did not get them in the mountains. Well, I wish you the best of luck with the windows.
Thank you.
It's probably cool living in a historic building until things like that happen.
It's I think this building is great. And like the landlord is awesome. Had some really good conversations, but it's just like, when it comes to like, is promptness the right word?
The level of care. As long as you have it in writing.
Yeah.
Which brings us to today's topic.
Nice.
And I think this is going to be the last of the This Week in Tech History episodes.
Aww.
So a very special occasion.
A beautiful series.
I am like if I, for a living, could write research papers, I would. And I mean that in the sincerest form of making a living at it, because I don't want to go into academia. Sounds very depressing. And I've been loving writing little research projects once a week.
Yeah, this is giving you your fix.
Yeah. Now I'll just have to go in depth for our Friday I learned something updates.
There you go. Yeah.
So, while obviously we use email correspondence for like everything today, text, we're just talking about it with you talking with your landlord. In the early 80s, it was like a pretty new thing. So on August 26th, 1984, Miss Manners. Do you follow Miss Manners or read any of her things ever?
I remember like growing up, like the newspaper column.
Yeah. And in reading some of the stuff for researching this, I was like, wow, I apparently have very poor manners.
It was a mixture of probably really poor manners, but also reading that, just being so nosy about people who are writing it.
Oh, yeah. It's like the Dear Abby columns or Andy Evan. Oh, yeah.
Just a minute. You have some qualms, don't you, about marrying somebody who seems that greedy and selfish? But you are not really that indifferent to your family's feelings, are you? And you're not quite such a materialistic tyrant as all that. Then why did you allow the planning of your wedding to bring out the worst in you? You kept saying you wanted it to be perfect. Let's do it all over and see if we can make it better.
So she had a reader who wrote in with a concern about typing personal correspondence on a personal computer. And they were concerned that using a computer was more convenient, but they were worried about the poor quality of the dot matrix printer, valid concern, and about copying parts of one letter into another. Miss Manners replied that computers, like typewriters, generally are inappropriate for personal correspondence. In the event a word processor is used, she warned, the recipient may confuse the letter for a sweepstakes entry. And she noted, if any one of your friends ever sees that your letter to another contains identical ingredients, you will have no further correspondence problems. Insinuating that somebody would just like... that's the 80s version of unfollowing?
Yeah. That's the 80s version of unfollowing, or the early 2000s version of changing your topic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're not on the list anymore and you got to find out why. She does offer, like, I was interested to see like some specifics on what she updated since then, because obviously we use it for everything, but it still included, as of 10 years ago, not sending electronic correspondence regarding weddings. Sentimental messages should always be handwritten, usually in a blank card. It's cheating to use a card with a pre-printed message. So the headline for this said, "Don't wish your mother a happy birthday on Facebook." Which, I don't know. If your mom's on Facebook, why not? But it is I think it's super interesting to see how that, just how it changed between those, I guess that was, I don't know, 25 years, and how it's changed since then. I guess I did send out wedding invites, but I did not ask anyone to send me anything back. It's like, get online. Please. I don't need more paper in this house right now. I don't know. I thought it was interesting that she lumped it in with typewriters.
The same, like, media format? Medium?
Kind of. I mean, she lumps them both together as, like, so impersonal to be using for correspondence. At what point did that fall out of favor, you know?
Yeah.
When I was younger, I had a pen pal, but it was, like, actually writing out letters.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like maybe that's a good mark of, like, was there a point where pen pals became somebody you emailed with?
Yeah. I feel like when I was, like, in grade school or early middle school, it was pen paling, but it was through email with, like, gosh, what was it? But it was the email pen pal program. It wasn't like writing a letter.
Yeah.
And I mean, at a certain point, it's like the adaptability of that, where it's like everything at that point was moving to like a digital format. And so it makes sense that you move away from pen and paper.
Yeah.
I
think that anytime, I'm sure at some point it was seen as impersonal altogether to write a letter on a typewriter.
Yeah.
Well, now it's interesting to see like how etiquette changes as technology changes.
Yeah.
No matter what technological innovation has been made, there's always somebody who's going to be salty about it, replacing whatever their preferred medium is. And then somebody who makes the first serious faux pas with it.
I think that's like it's interesting to think about right now, honestly, because growing up, my grandparents would always send like a physical birthday card in the mail.
Yeah.
And the requirement was we had to send like a thank you note back.
Yeah.
And at some point, the cards switched to, there's still physical cards that my grandparents send, which is very sweet and wonderful. But they'll also send e-gift cards. And so it's just so easy to just okay, reply.
Yeah.
Thanks, Grandma.
Yeah.
Or even just like a phone call.
Yeah.
Was still not necessarily the same as like getting a thank you note back. I don't know.
It had to be handwritten.
Yeah.
It had to be in your nicest cursive, which I don't even think they teach kids anymore.
I don't know that they do. That or shorthand.
Yeah. I don't think I ever learned shorthand. I especially like the call out to the sweepstakes.
Yeah.
There's two things listed up, where the call out to the sweepstakes and the like if your friends are comparing letters. Like, theoretically, you could write the same thing in multiple letters. It could be handwritten and still the same.
Yeah, because I mean, I was getting to like the dramatic aspect of
Yes.
this. My mind has completely built it out where I'm writing these beautiful letters, printing them out, sending them out. In my mind, those friends likely live somewhere else than me, right? So I don't know that I'm sending them to the same destination. I guess unless I'm like writing back home. If I send these back to Nebraska, even then, I don't know.
That is a good point. Like if you're sending letters to like one's going to New Jersey, one's going to Florida, and one's going to like Toronto. They calling each other up.
Yeah. But even then, are we for spreading the news? Can I just give you the phone call and share that? This is like a Christmas card equivalent. Everyone knows they're getting the same picture. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Yes. My family's always been big on the printed letters explaining what everyone's been doing all year.
Listen, you sent this out back the day, Miss Manners.
Miss Manners. I can guarantee you my family was sending these out in the 80s.
She would hold a real grudge to that. And as far as she's concerned, no more Christmas letters the next year for anyone.
No more Christmas letters. You won't have to worry about it. Your future correspondence will not be a problem. With the sweepstakes too. Like
I would think that's a scam from day one.
There's no way someone wrote me a letter on a computer and printed it out
and told me I won $1,000. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like Publishers Clearinghouse and stuff, I guess those were like the back in the day versions of online scams.
For sure. Snail mailed online scams.
The real snail mail online scam was like Columbia House. With all those CDs, and they're not age checking anyone. Like, why did they just let 12-year-old me order Dr. Dre's The Chronic? Then they called for payment. My mother was like, she's 12. You can't let it from her.
Oh, that's really good.
That's the first like paper scam I remember. I'm sure there were others, but
first one I was interested in. First one I got.
Absolutely. Well, you're giving me 12 CDs for a penny? Great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I don't remember sweepstakes being such a big issue that it would warrant being called out by Miss Manners.
Some real winners back then.
Man. I mean, I feel like I was excited to have this conversation with you because I think that you're probably one of the people in the company who gets the most email correspondence.
The most, probably up there. Cameron might get quite a few.
Yeah.
But the email inbox, yeah, stays full for sure.
Do you think you notice trends over the years of like how people communicate? Or do you think that it's like does the way that somebody communicates with you via email or Slack, or I mean, obviously like Slack and text messages weren't really as much of an issue.
Yeah.
For most makers, but
they're all different in terms of like what, I don't know if this is the right phrasing, but like what you can get away with in certain like formats where to me, and maybe this ages me as well, but like to me, emails feel way more formal and like feel like they should be formatted a little bit more formally.
Yeah.
Versus if I'm having a conversation in Slack where it's, quick and quippy, totally fine, where it's an instant exchange versus email is like, can be everything detailed, everything explained. And so it's, I think when those overlap where it's like, I'm definitely not knocking smiley faces and emails to anyone that does that. Like, something where I'm like, I feel weird putting that in an email versus if I'm like slacking or texting.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I feel like there is a difference in the way that people communicate across all of those like formats. And what's tricky across all of them is just like online communication has so many different ways to be misconstrued, which is why I think the formality of an email is like how I structure it.
That is an interesting like kind of evolution of like how we all of the myriad ways we communicate. Especially now because, like 3 years ago, everybody was in offices. So
Yeah.
if you have something to communicate, it's usually done face to face. There is a lot less ambiguity in what's being said.
Face to face or via email, like the first job I ever had that like had Slack as a communication tool was mind blowing to me. Like people are just using emotions or emojis like willy nilly over there.
Yeah.
There's sort of common reflection.
Yeah.
Is this okay? Like in the workspace? But I think like it's like almost one of those things where it evolves. So like say with Miss Manage where she was like, letters should be personal to each individual.
Yeah.
Why are you just handwrite it? Like it's a very like sort of intimate thing. And the same can sort of translate into work where it's like very formalized structure, but as you cultivate like your working environment or working structure or even work type work style where that voice comes out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Changes the format versus like the intent, I guess.
It's almost like part of the like the digital, like the remote orientation with a new job isn't so much like how does the workplace work? It's like what's the appropriate way to communicate in this company? How do people speak to each other?
Yeah. And it usually takes like a few days to sort of understand what that cadence looks like. Like when Ben introduces people to every single Slack channel, I find his introductions to each one to be both hilarious and informative.
Yeah.
Because they're every time.
Yeah. I feel like even then, even after a few days, I mean, I started right before Christmas, so it was like a slow ramp up for a lot of things anyway. And at my previous company, everyone used to email to keep track of things. And I started emailing things here, and Faith was like, Abby, no one's going to answer your emails. I was like, okay, noted. I'll start using Slack for everything. And she was like, that's great. That's how everyone communicates here. I was like, okay.
Instant. The notification is just right there and beautiful.
It is
it doesn't get lost in the shuffle as much.
Oh, especially with the, I mean, that's a whole other can of worms. Like, how do you address general email addresses? So, like, we both are on the email funnel for people who email team@gun.io. I've seen some interesting choices people have made in there and how they address a company-wide email.
Yes.
I'm sure you must get that times like 50.
There's definitely some where it's just like, hello. Great.
Hi.
There you go.
Is this one of those text scammers?
Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's just nobody knows who's on the other end. Just sending it out into the ether. See your response.
I like to think that I'd be like polite to the ether because you never know what's going to come back. But
for sure, I was just having this conversation, and it's going to be so silly to confess, but like. With like, I don't want to say, I don't want to go off, but like with your like home systems that you can talk to.
Yeah. But you don't want to say it because it'll start recording this conversation.
It's just going to respond to me. It's going to try to talk to me. It's right here. If I ask, what time is it? Or can you set a timer? I would say thank you.
Yes.
At the end. And I was having a conversation with someone and they were like, I always say thank you because I feel like this is really not my story to share. I'm so going to share it. I always say thank you because I feel like one day Apple's going to come out with like an award for someone that said thank you the most times in response to asking for something. And it was just so like genuine where I was like, I hope that they do come out with that award and that you get it.
But I mean, what else are you, I mean, I don't know. I was always raised to say please and thank you, and so it feels like the natural way to end that conversation.
You gave her a
and is that like the new frontier of like, your smart home creates a better and healthier environment for you because you were polite to it.
And that's the other thing where I'm like, I know that I say thank you to it in appreciation for telling me what time it is, but then I also I'm like, if it updates one day to respond, it'll freak me out.
Yeah.
Don't say you're welcome. It's okay.
You're fine. You don't have to thank me. I'm a robot.
Yeah. You just track that I said thank you. That's it.
I can't wait for the smart, polite robots to take over. Those are the ones I want in our corner. Those are the ones I want responding to my emails.
I would agree.
Well, thank you for joining me today. Very exciting to wrap up on manners. I don't know if there's a I'll send you a follow-up handwritten letter.
Oh, thank you. I do appreciate that. Wow, gently. That just sparked something. For like interview, like growing up, it was like post interview, you should always send like a handwritten letter.
Yeah.
Like this does not need to be considered. I'm just like tangentially saying this story because it really just sparked something. Or it was like, I think it would have been in high school. It was like sort of interview job-ish prep where they were like, have one ready to go. So like on your way out the door, you could drop one in the mailbox kind of thing. Oh my gosh. I did not do that. I'm so sorry to Tasia and Tyler for not sending a handwritten follow-up. But
this still hired you.
Yeah. I sent an email one.
Yeah.
Like it was a email thank you.
I almost think if you had sent them a handwritten one, it would have been very strange.
And that's the thing where it's like the ebb and flow of what's like cool or not.
What's appropriate.
What's considered weird at a certain point. Like once you have really just shifted to everything is almost digital, it almost feels weirder to receive something physical.
Yeah.
I got yeah.
It's not a paper version of the copy they already sent me in my email.
I have to check my mail inbox for 3 weeks. Thank you though.
Yeah.
Email being like so instantaneous. But yeah, I feel like at a certain point it does feel a little bit odd to get. I don't know, maybe it feels nice. I don't know.
I have a friend who loves to send postcards.
Postcards is fun.
Yeah.
Once again, this is all tangential, but like, what am I supposed to do with a postcard at a certain point? Like, it's like, oh, that's really cool that you were there, but I feel like this is a postcard for you to be there because now I just have a catalog of everywhere you went. I wasn't invited to.
I need you to take me to Italy with you. She's like, I'll email you about it later. Strongly worded with hand movements.
Oh yeah. Strongly worded. Mine's always the point.
Yes. All right. Well, thanks for doing this.
Of course.
Thanks for listening to the Frontier Podcast powered by Gun.io. We drop 2 episodes per week, so if you like this episode, be sure to subscribe on your platform of choice and come hang out with us again next week and bring all your internet friends. If you have questions or recommendations, just shoot us a Twitter DM at The Frontier Pod, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, because they're every time.
Yep. Dog barking took my train of thought right off the tracks.